How's it going, everybody? Brian Alvarez, Dave Meltzer here, Wrestling Observer Radio. It is August 4, 2020, figure4online.com/wrestlingobserver.com. I know, Dave, you want to save Raw till the end, but dude, we got to talk about this show.
Okay.
We are so far into WCW territory at this point. This is so bad.
Oh, yeah. Well, here's the deal. There's a lot to this show. The reality is they were going to do probably the lowest number ever. Because look at the last 2 weeks.
I'm pretty sure they're still going to. I was ready to quit on that show repeatedly.
Well, we'll see. I thought that there's so much craziness that people would probably, just go like, what's happening next? But we'll see. Honestly, tomorrow doesn't mean anything. If it does good, if it does terrible, I guess it tells you that people probably tuned out. If it does good, it doesn't necessarily mean it was good. It just means that it was weird enough that people stuck through and it was something different. And, they had to try something different. They've been under the gun, that investors call. And even before the investors call, they knew going in because they had they had a meeting, the writing team and Vince had a meeting on Wednesday before the investment call. So it's before Vince got grilled. He already had the meeting, and the only thing that they basically came up with or agreed on was Shane McMahon would come in and do the fight thing, and Randy Orton and Ric Flair would do an angle, which I guess is for next week's show because it didn't happen tonight, and that was it. And then they had over and over. Today was complete chaos, to the point that, a lot of guys that usually don't see things, as being bad kind of did because they could really see just how, this is where we're at. This is what tonight's show really was okay. So the whole thing is that, they were just going to throw a whole bunch of stuff against the wall and hope something sticks. That's really where we're at right now. And that's what tonight's show was. A whole bunch of stuff thrown against the wall and hoping maybe we're going to find something that's a hit. And I don't know.
This dude doesn't even know what he's doing anymore. It's sad. Come on. The very first thing they announced today is the return of Shane McMahon. We're right back to the same problem. Let's go back to something from the late 90s, early 2000s. Let's bring back Shane McMahon. Let's redo
Everyone's doing it.
Brawl for All.
Everyone's
No, Dave, there's a difference.
It.
AEW is bringing back people from the past who are working as managers. We have nobody being elevated on this show. This has been a problem forever.
Oh, no shit. Except for Drew McIntyre. He's the only one. But it's, all of those guys that were projects. Dominic Mysterio's but all the guys that were projects, they're not even on the show anymore. Apollo Crews was on the show, finally, thank God. Good for him. I'm glad, because, he was out with health issues. So, but yeah. And he won, but it was just, I don't know. I guess it's better than losing. That's the only thing I could say about it. He won and he got the title. But yeah, no, everything on the show is built around older guys for the most part. And, bringing back, when you're in trouble and you're bringing back Shane McMahon, that's my first reaction is it might get a rating for 1 week. The last time Shane came back, and granted he'd been gone for years and years, but the last time he came back, it was a gigantic rating. I don't expect it to be gigantic, but even if it is, we already know that this stuff, Shane McMahon was all over SmackDown when the numbers were not doing well. Better than now, but, not doing well at the time. So we already know that this is not an answer. And to me, again, got to be building for the future. This is again, somebody wrote this. And it's not the first time, but one of the analysts, basically said that it's been a succession of, putting Band-Aids on, you know what I mean? And it's like a Band-Aid on a cancer, which actually was a Zane Bresloff line about when WCW was dying, and he goes we're putting Band-Aids on cancer. And that's where this is going. It's the only thing that's going to really turn this thing around is a long-term plan and not worrying about the ratings now and building around a whole new group of people.
Well, you got to get rid of Vince. You can't have a long-term plan with Vince. It's impossible.
I know it's impossible. I know it's impossible because you're everyone's writing for him. But yeah, no. I mean, the rating might be really good tomorrow. I mean, well, it won't be really good. It may not be horrible, or it may be horrible. I don't know. If it's horrible, then they got a lot of trouble because then again, this was the third straight week of a unique attempt at hotshot for a 1 week rating, and the hotshot for a 1 week rating thing is not going to do you any good. I mean, you need to be building stuff for the future, and it's not there. That's what can I say?
I was 2.5 hours in. I was dying. I was like, is this show over yet? And then Seth comes out and he's rambling on, and I'm thinking, is there a main event on this show? I have no idea what the main event of this show is. And there wasn't one, was the answer.
There really wasn't.
Back to the Fight Club. But, I mean, can you imagine a 3-hour show and they don't tell you, they don't have a main event. They never tell you what's going to be at the end of the show. They never told you that Seth was going to come out. They never told you that Joe was going to tease. They never told you anything. Well, they just hope you keep watching.
Well, the whole thing is they counted on Shane McMahon and the Fight Club being the draw to keep you. And after one segment, I mean, it was really crappy, but was it unique enough for the first time that it'll keep you watching? I don't know the answer. We'll know that tomorrow. But long term, is this thing gonna, this Fight Club thing's pretty bad. Is it gonna be like the turnaround? And it's like, it's not.
No.
So it's just, it's like a hot shot. I mean, I don't know. It wasn't good. So look, they're trying to do something with Babatunde as whatever his name is. And, and they had the giant guy as a bodyguard. I mean, there's guys that are around. There are new guys that are around that are freaking giants, but we'll see. I wasn't, all day, all morning, it was already, just the whole stories of the chaos and everything. And they did introduce a new faction, the guys that tried to blow out the generator.
The guys who threw Molotov cocktails at a generator. They actually on social media announced a new faction will be debuting tonight. That's what they gave us, was some dudes dressed like all of the other ninjas, by the way. I mean, may just be the ninjas for all I know. Throw some cocktails at this thing, it lights on fire. It was in a 3-hour show. It was a 1-minute segment at most. It's like, that's your new faction debuting? Wow, I can't wait for next week.
Well, the other thing, too, is all of those, flickering outs of the mic and the
made the show
lights.
Worse.
I know it. It made the show look so Mickey Mouse, and then you do the storyline with it. It's like, that's the storyline for, all of this stuff. It's like, but look, they tried.
No, the show was so sad. It was like just a crazy guy coming up with stupid ideas. He doesn't know what wrestling is anymore. He's just desperate for anything. A bunch of guys in black outfits throwing Molotov cocktails. I mean, come on. What is this?
He's
Fight Club.
Like I said, he's throwing stuff against the wall, hoping that something's going to stick. It's exactly like WCW was from mid 1998 on. And that's what it is. They're lost. Hopefully they find, look, SmackDown on Friday was pretty good, but hopefully they find themselves, this is not it. Even if, again, they may go in there and, like I said, it may get enough curiosity, and Shane McMahon being back may do something with the number, but it may not. I mean, they have hot-shotted the last 2 weeks to and done 2 of the 3 lowest numbers in the history of the show. So, again, they were going to do a terrible number this week. So they had to try something. But if I was an investor, I would be really scared because, it's not, I didn't feel like this is the beginning of a turnaround. I felt that this is the beginning of being completely out of touch with your audience.
There's nobody that thought that this was the beginning of a turnaround. Nobody on the planet. The show was so bad.
Well, it wasn't all bad, but the overall
it was 95% bad. Drew McIntyre
I wouldn't even
promo.
say that. The overriding thing was absolutely bad, but there was the little bit of wrestling that was there was okay. Some of it was bad.
The 2-minute matches in between 4 talking segments, there was so much talking on this show.
Drew McIntyre's segment was good.
Drew McIntyre cut a great promo. That's the only thing on this show.
The Montez Ford thing was really stupid.
Stupid beyond belief.
Really stupid. Yeah, it was bad. It was bad.
Just like Dave's connection is bad. We're going to get him on the phone. All right, let's run over this news, and then we'll get into the full Raw report, unfortunately. XFL has been sold. Rock, along with some other investors, have purchased it for $15 million. The XFL will never die.
Well, it very well may, but so it was. Let me see if I have this stuff in front of me, and I don't. It was Dwayne Johnson and his business manager, Danny Garcia, and a third guy was Cardinelli, I think is his name. Hold on. Where is this? Got Jerry Cardinelli of Redbird Capital. So they each put up. It was a $15 million purchase. They each put up $5 million, and they're also going to assume $8.5 million of prior debts. Now, it is not a done deal because the creditors' lawyers immediately tried to hold up the sale, feeling that it was completely bought at an undervalued price. But they were also the only people who were bidding for it. So, by that token, maybe it was an undervalued price. And it's the gist here is it's the same thing as it was. I mean, Vince gave up the idea after putting all that money in, and this is everything about the XFL. All of these things: is the football good? Is this good? Is that good? Ratings? It's all, everything is dependent on one thing, and that is the ability for them to get a television deal that can cover costs. If they get a television deal that can cover costs, then they can make money. If they can get a television deal that and financing that allows them to lose some money, they establish the brand, they may be able to sell it for the price. $15 million would be an absolute steal if they could get this thing established as a league, because, look at what a franchise in a league could be worth hundreds of, a couple $100 million. So, but it also could just be a money pit. And that's obviously what Vince thought, because Vince gave up on it. The number of the purchase number is pretty much irrelevant, because it sounds so low because it really is. But the key is that there's going to be huge losses until they get that television deal. Now, Vince could not get a good television deal for the thing. I mean, he got a deal that essentially paid for production, but paid him no money, and they were, on verge of losing a lot of money every, $100 million every year for 3 years, with the idea that at the end of those years, they'll have established ratings to a degree where they can get big television money, and then they're fine. Like WWE is right now. The issue is we don't know what the situation will be in 3 years with these companies. Will these companies have all that spare money? I mean, one of the fears of WWE not getting a good deal, and again, it's a fear, but we don't know, because I've been living through 30 years of this stuff of people saying that the bubble's going to burst, and it never does. Although there are signs. There are signs internationally and here and there, and there's logic that tells you that if less money is being put into some of these TV stations, and the NFL, like they're on ESPN, that's an NFL station. They're on Fox, that's an NFL station. They're on FS1, which is part of Fox. So the stations that they are on, like I said, they're NFL and ABC too. They're on NFL stations. And those companies, they're going to be bidding on the NFL. That's going to go up for sure. So how much money does that leave for everybody else? And if that, so I mean that's and ESPN's also got the NBA. They've also got baseball, and those are the franchises that they're going to keep. So we just don't know. Is it worth, is it worth $5 million to Dwayne and $5 million to Danny and $5 million to Jerry Cardinale to take this risk? Yes, but they have to fund these years. So in that sense, maybe it's not. The whole key is Dwayne's ability to get people to back the league because of his charisma and the ability for him and his people to do what Vince could not do, and that's get a paying television deal out of this thing. So maybe he can pull it off. It's in theory a low investment as far as the purchase price, but it's not a low investment because it's going to be a money pit until they get there. And it's also got the stench of being a double failure, and people are going to not have confidence because this version lasted 5 weeks. And, as far as the deal, the thing opened, it opened season 1 with very good numbers, all things considered, very good numbers. And I think for the first 4 weeks, numbers were good. By week 5, the numbers were concerning. It was dropping greatly every week, by a high percentage, not like 10% a week. It was dropping big. It was headed based on the level of drop to be not good ratings anymore. And that's something that's, you got to worry about. Because again, as a novelty, will people watch a new league with a lot of hype? Yes. Will they continue to watch week after week? Even if the football's good, that's not the issue. Are they going to continue to watch? And it wasn't, it wasn't terrible, but it was not, it was concerning for sure on the first season. These guys want to start in 2021. They want to do a season in February. And man, maybe that's why they got such a good deal, because nobody else it's going to be quite the chore to get that season going between bad will of the last season and of all the ticket holders and everything like that, and the questions that everyone's going to have. Dwayne's not a loser. He's not. He's starting a lot of businesses. We're going to see how they do. He's a great salesman. Danny is. They're going to push her as the first woman owner of a sports league. I guess you could say that she's not, but that's what she's going to be pushed as. And as far as a major sport, that's true. There's been women owners of teams, but not of like entire leagues. So she got mad today. Did you see that? Where she got mad?
I did not. What happened?
Of all the things, this is like, I don't know if this is concerning or not. She got mad that all the headlines were Dwayne Johnson when basically she said that she put up the same amount of money he did. She's got the same ownership stake he did. And she's going to be making as many decisions as he is. And she's not in any headlines. Every headline's about him. And it's like, if you're already worried that's not a good first day to me.
We also have the announcement that TNT is making some changes. AEW is being moved as a result of the NBA. The August 19th episode will be airing on Saturday, August 22nd, 6 Eastern, which will in fact be the same night as NXT TakeOver. NXT TakeOver, UFC. There's going to be, all kinds of sports going on that night. I don't know what I'm going to do. It's my daughter's 11th birthday too, so I'm checking out. I don't know what I'm doing that night, but I was like, man, I don't know. That and NXT TakeOver on the same night. Look, it is what it is. It's what it's got to be, and the NBA is going to take precedence, and whatever. It would, if nothing else, but it doesn't really matter. I know some people will go, they should have made it 6:05, but 6:05 was decades ago. You can't be fucking living in the past. That's the biggest problem in this industry. Somebody was mentioning this to me, and in 1985, when Hogan and Orndorff and Roddy Piper and these guys were like getting over, if the announcers, all they did was frickin' talk about
Bruno Sammartino and Hans Mortier and Cowboy Bill Watts and people like that all over TV, like they were the pioneers and they were this and they were that. It's like these guys would, like, I'm not saying they would never get over, but it would be so defeating the purpose. And they're doing the exact same thing. It's like I said, I mean, believe me, I can get it because I'm older, but I'm not someone who like lives in the past, you know. And the thing is, I know that Steve Austin and The Rock was 20 years ago. Okay, I know that. I know that you can't keep talking about him over and over again. It's you're defeating the purpose. But for Vince, it was like yesterday. You know, when you get older, it feels like it's yesterday. But you've got to look at, like, you know, he's got to look at it like he looked at it when he was 40. He's got to get that in. And I don't know, you can do it if you really think about it. Go like, when I was 40, let's transport. If I was 40 and I was trying to get these guys over, would I be talking about Bruno Sammartino and Bill Watts and the Kentucky Butcher and Victor Rivera and all of these characters and Toro Tanaka all over the TV? And it's like, it's ridiculous. That's silly. But that's what you're doing. And I don't know. Yeah, that's, you know, but he's got to, maybe he can't do it. I don't know, but he's got to, him and Bruce and everyone, they need to sit there and go, let's, you know, we've got to get a new product over. We can't be like living on the fumes of this thing. Cause yeah, you'll still draw your 50-year-olds, and those 50-year-olds do want to hear about Steve Austin, and they do want to hear about The Rock over and over and over again. And it's their glory days and everything like that. But you're just basically telling them, and you're telling all the younger fans that, you know, this is something that used to be cool, and that's not the message you need to send.
So that's Wednesday, the 19th. The 26th, it will be airing whenever the NBA games are done that night, and also Thursday, August 27th at 8 p.m. Eastern, which I guess means they're doing a new show both days, so 4 hours of AEW.
Yeah, they're doing 2 shows that week, which is real interesting. I would guess that the Wednesday night show is going to be heavily pushing the Thursday show with angles. And then the next week, they're going to have 3 hours with the 2-hour regular show and then the 1-hour countdown show leading to the September 5th pay-per-view. So they've got a lot of TV to build this pay-per-view, which will be most likely Jon Moxley, but it's the winner of the Moxley-Darby Allin match against MJF. And I think that, like, they're going to, you know, it looks like Nyla Rose and Hikaru Shida and Britt Baker and Big Swole. And as far as the rest, I mean, there's going to be some tag team thing. I don't know if it's going to be 3-way. I don't know if it's going to be 4-way. You know, how it's all going to go down. I mean, there'll be angles, you know, this week. I think that maybe this week's TV may give that. And then, you know, I think that the Jericho Orange Cassidy match, which is not this coming Wednesday, but it's a week from Wednesday, I think that that's going to probably segue into whatever Jericho's doing on the pay-per-view. So, no, it's going to be 3 straight weeks of pay-per-views, too. I mean, of you know, well, yeah, pay-per-views, because you're going to have SummerSlam, then you're going to have that Backlash the very next Sunday, and then you're going to have AEW on the following Saturday night, you know, going against some big college football.
Well, this coming Wednesday, we have
if there's college football. We don't even. I mean, trying to say like what's going to be happening in a month is you know, it's a shot in the dark. I mean, so many things are going to change.
Wednesday, we've got Dynamite, Jon Moxley, Darby Allin for the AEW title, Matt Cardona and Cody versus John Silver, Alex Reynolds, Kenny Omega, Hangman Page, FTR, and the Young Bucks versus Brody Lee, Colt Cabana, Evil Uno, Grayson, 5 and 10 of the Dark Order. Update on MJF.
5 and 10. So 5 and 10, I think is that Vance? Yeah, he's 10. Now who's 5?
I don't know.
Okay.
Member of the Dark Order. Jon Moxley MJF challenge will be followed up on, and we've also got the Best Friends versus Santana and Ortiz, and the Orange Cassidy Chris Jericho mystery Eric Bischoff debate. the verbal debate leading to their match, I guess, the week after. So there you go. NXT, we got Keith Lee, Cameron Grimes, Imperium Undisputed Era. We have Damian Priest, Ridge Holloway, and Oney Lorcan. Ridge Holland. And Rhea Ripley versus Dakota Kai.
Oney Lorcan, it's three-way.
Yep. And Rhea Ripley, Dakota Kai is a number one contenders match for the women's title.
Yeah, so Io Shirai will defend against the winner at TakeOver on the 22nd. So, yeah. Dakota Kai and Ripley should be good. The Imperium match should be very good. Keith Lee, Cameron Grimes should be very entertaining. The three-way, I don't know. A lot depends on Ridge Holland. I've heard good things about him. He's going to debut on TV. Oney Lorcan's a very good worker. He usually enhances every match he's in, so that could be all right as well. So that's the show. I mean, both lineups on paper look good, but nothing is killer. Moxley and Darby Allin could be really good, and Matt Cardona and Cody, I think Matt Cardona, it's a big match for him. He's got to get off on the right foot, and I mean it's whatever. There's actually a funny build up to the Silver and Reynolds thing because they did a thing on BT today, and it was the Young Bucks were with Silver and Reynolds were trying to recruit them for the Dark Order by pretending that they're really religious, and they had a book which they claimed was the Bible, which was obviously not the Bible, but they were there and they were going, we're Christian AF just like you guys. And the Young Bucks are all excited and all that about, oh, really? We didn't think, you know what I mean? Not thinking that you guys were like that at all. So, no, we're like that. We love the Bible. It's our favorite book. And then they asked them about what's their favorite part of the Bible? And it's just like, oh, there's just so much, we just can't narrow it down. And then Matt asked him about Genesis, and he said, John Silver, who's just great on this show, just talked about how he's a big fan of Phil Collins. And then they go, what about Cain? And he goes, oh, we loved Cain and his brother. And then they're going, yeah, Cain and his brother. He goes, what's his brother's name? And they go, Mark. So anyway, that was that. And they exposed the fact that those guys did not know anything about Christianity. So anyway, the punchline of all this, where it gets to this match, is that the Young Bucks are so fed up with them that they're going to put them in a squash match on TV this week. And they were all excited, thinking that they were going to be in a squash match, not recognizing that they're the ones being squashed, as opposed to, getting a squash win. So anyway, that's where that match comes in.
Did you watch any of the Deadly Draw tournament?
Did you watch that?
I did not watch any of it.
Okay, I watched the whole show. The Nyla Rose and Ariane Andrew versus Ty Conti and Anna Jay match was really bad. Ariane she's just so green, and she hasn't wrestled in 4 years, and she moves well. Like when you watch her, you go, she's not that bad. But then as the match went on, Anna Jay's very inexperienced, and we didn't really see it because the couple of times that she's been on AEW, she works with Hikaru Shida, and Hikaru Shida really, knew how to work with her, and Kenny Omega's agenting the match and everything. And I remember it's like, God, this woman, Anna Jay, has only had a couple of matches, and she's this good. And, for a couple of matches, she is really good. And she's probably going to be, really good in the future, but it's she's green. Ariane is just got completely lost. And Ty Conti, she shows glimpses of stuff, but she's still very inexperienced as well. There were points in the match where I was going like, oh, she's got something. Her kicks are really good, which I never noticed in WWE. Her ever doing. Her kicks are good, and she's got her judo, and she can do good arm bars and things like that. But it did fall apart. Nyla was the best of the four. And so it ended up with Anna Jay pinning Ariane with a neck snapper. So perhaps that's it for her. And then Nyla Rose turned on Ariane for having such a bad match, and that was that. And the other match was Allie and Brandy Rhodes beating Mel and Penelope Ford. And, it was all right, but it was nothing special, nothing to go out of your way to see by any means. The best part of it was the interview at the end of the show with Brandy and Allie, where Brandy is with Dustin. So this is actually like WWE. So Brandy's with Dustin. She's married to Cody, and Penelope Ford and Mel are heels. Brandy and Allie are baby faces that sort of are kind of not getting along, but not doing the exaggerated, goofy version, where it's, it's just little things. So it's there, but it's not, it's not their bad. So anyway, they won. Brandy speared Mel, and then after, Brandy does this complete heel interview. She's just like, I'm the only woman in AEW their own action figure, and just basically, I'm a big star, like that. I'm a major star. So she was doing that kind of interview, and Allie's kind of giving her dirty looks, and we all figure Allie's the one who's going to turn heel, but Brandy's the one who's heel, and Brandy's going to Allie like, oh, if you stick with me, you can get your own action figure type of thing. So that was the deal with that. The Tony Schiavone and Veda Scott did the announcing. Shaul Guerrero did the ring announcing. Medusa was there. Depends on the numbers. When I looked, a lot of people had watched, but it's week one. It's like, if week two is as good as week one and all that, it may be viable. But as far as the show and the quality of the match is not good tonight. Like they said, the second match was really not good at all.
SummerSlam, what's the plan?
Right now, Atlantic City, but we'll see. Vince wants to be out of Florida, wants a different look at the location. I don't know about fans.
So an empty arena somewhere else? What the hell difference does it make?
Maybe they can. Maybe they can get fans in New Jersey, and maybe that's the idea: is that they can do fans with social distancing. Vince really wants fans at SummerSlam this year, so that's the key. And
don't we have like 2 weeks or 3 weeks?
Yeah, but if it's 2,000 people, they can get it snapping their fingers. If it was 15,000 people, it might be difficult. But if they're going to be set up for a couple thousand, it won't be too bad. I don't know. I mean, they should, if they had it solid, it should have been announced tonight. So they obviously don't have it solid, because this is not something that you know what I mean? They may not be selling tickets also, but if they are selling tickets, they're already late on the build. So maybe they're just not even going to sell tickets. Maybe they just want a different look of the location, than that building. So I don't know. It should all be, but yeah, it should all be finalized in the next. As soon as it's finalized, they need to announce it. That's for sure.
Well, let's talk about this Raw show here. 3 hours of largely pain. So they opened up with MVP and Apollo for the Intercontinental title, and they actually had a fun match. But
U.S. title.
Before the match begins, the lights start to flicker, and the announcers say, there have been some weather issues. I don't know how they didn't know there was going to be an invading faction since they'd announced it on their social media, but they blame this on the weather issues. So MVP comes out.
I'll tell you what, they never should have put that thing on social media, because the invading faction, because when the show was over, nobody even knew there was an invading faction going. Where is the invading faction? They should have just not said a word and then done that thing. But, again,
plus it's stupid. Like what? The invading faction sent information to WWE.com so they could send it out on social media? What? Doesn't make any sense.
it's not about sense. It's throwing shit against the wall and hoping something sticks. They're desperate for numbers like now, I mean, which is never good because you should want to build and be, they're desperate for numbers now. I mean, everything about the show was told you that.
So they do this match, and Cruz makes a comeback. He hits like 2 moves. MVP cuts him off, hits a German, and Apollo just pops up, hits his toss-up powerbomb, gets the pin. Finish kind of came out of nowhere, but the match was good, and the work was good. Both guys are good. And then Bobby Lashley goes to put the full Nelson on afterwards, but Apollo escapes, at which point they hand him both of the title belts, and he leaves, at which point he cuts a promo explaining that Lashley put him on the shelf. He had to sit at home while MVP was defending this fake belt on television. His kids kept saying, "Daddy, aren't you the champion?" And so he says, "I'm going to take this old U.S. title belt, I'm going to hang it on the wall in their room, and I'm going to walk around with this new belt that MVP bought." So it's a very clever way to get rid of the old belt and start using the new belt, and I thought this segment was good.
Yeah, it's fine.
Then we go back to MVP.
But then all the mic work not working and all that. I mean, I guess it's intriguing, but it also at the same time when you're watching it, if it was anyone but WWE doing it, you would go, what a Mickey Mouse show, because it's WWE and they technically are usually not like that. You're kind of going like, it's an angle. So, I mean, I guess it wasn't that bad, but it was sort of, I don't know, annoying. It was still annoying in some ways, too.
Well, it's annoying because every time someone tries to cut a promo, their mic goes out. They tap the mic. Is this thing working? And they try to cut the promo, the mic goes out again. It was irritating all night long, and not in a good way. We had Bayley and Sasha doing promos, laughing about having all the belts. And Sarah says, "Will you be defending any or all of these belts at SummerSlam?" And Bayley says, "Well, we brought something special for everybody tonight. And it's a video package of them destroying Kairi Sane. And I don't know what this has to do with them defending the titles. But Asuka then shows up on the video, and she is very upset. She says revenge will be sweet. Shayna then walks up and says Sasha snaked her way into the Raw Women's title match. I've waited in line long enough. Punches her, and we end up having a match later on.
What a match.
We have Iconics meeting with Kevin Owens. They want to be guests on his show next. He says, I already got a guest. So we have the Kevin Owens segment. His guest is Ruby Riott. She comes out and says, I've had a lot of bad luck. I've dealt with women like the Iconics my whole life. Last week, I finally shut up Peyton and put an end to that iconic bullshit. So the new thing on Raw the last 2 weeks is saying bullshit because AEW can say bullshit, but for some reason they bleep it on Raw, so I don't even know what the point is. But I guess you can say bullshit bleep now. So Kevin then calls out Liv Morgan. And long story short, he tries to get them back together again. And Ruby starts cutting this promo about she came back and everything was different. And Liv was on her own and she's crying. And the Iconics interrupt and they bury them. And Liv ends up challenging them and they challenge each other. And so we have a match. So after all of this talking, it was like 30 minutes straight of talking. We go to a match. It's Peyton and Billy versus Ruby and Liv. It goes maybe 2 minutes. Hot tag. Billy's supposed to break up a pin, but she's late. Liv rolls up Billy, gets the pin. Peyton goes after Liv. Ruby makes the save. So
this match was really bad too, by the way.
Yeah, we waited a long time for a very bad 2.5 minute match.
Yeah.
Then we go Billy, right back to talking.
The opening stuff with like Billy Kay was just. I mean, it was like it was a level that you usually don't see on Raw. It was very amateur looking.
So then we go back to Charlie, and she says, "Well, fans, there was a large noise stemming from this area, and there are rumors, just rumors at this point, that these boxes falling over was no accident." I'm like, boxes falling over? What is going on here? MVP walks up. He's like, you're talking about boxes? I lost my title and you're here talking about boxes. And he says she tells him that Apollo's accepted his challenge for SummerSlam. Then Shelton shows up and says, someone stole my 24/7 title. MVP says we got to go teach somebody a lesson. I'm watching this show just thinking, dude, there's just a million things happening. Just stuff happening.
Yep, well, that's the idea. The idea is they're trying to make you not tune out. They're scared of people tuning out.
All I wanted to do during this show was tune out.
Well, we'll find out tomorrow if that's the ratings will tell us a lot tomorrow about what happens for the short term. It won't tell us anything about the long term, but it will tell us about the short term, about all this frickin' so much talking, so little wrestling, and all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's constant stuff. But I mean, I didn't say this, but the whole thing is that the whole mentality right now is that we have got to go and do what worked in the 90s, which is
dude,
oh man, I know, but that's the mentality. Because again, you're look at who's in charge, and it's that's the whole problem with this thing. That it's like you can't go back in time. It never works.
So then we had one of the only great things on this show, which is a Randy Orton Drew McIntyre promo. And Drew was so good. His promo was so good. And of course, Randy is always very good. I wrote 50,000 words. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but basically, Drew comes out and says he's very motivated to beat Orton. He knows Orton is motivated as well. He does an Edge promo, basically, where he talks about how Randy was always handed everything. Randy should have been fired over and over again, but he actually was fired. He was obviously very upset about it. Randy and Rick come out. Randy basically says, I've heard this shit before. Tell me one thing that I've never heard. And so Drew tells his story about how a decade ago you had just been pulled out of the hole by Edge, and you walked by me in catering, and my life was crumbling around me. My mother was sick. I was far away from home, and a kind word from somebody like Randy Orton might have really changed my life, and you didn't do a damn thing. I don't see a leader standing in front of me. I see a selfish prick. I got receipts to cash in at WrestleMania. I'm going to rip your head off.
SummerSlam.
And damn sure you're going to see it coming. This promo was great.
Yeah, Drew McIntyre was great tonight. Randy Orton was good, too. It was a good segment.
We have Kevin meeting with Ruby and Liv. Flair shows up.
They also talked about, his big thing was how this wasn't Randy's plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D. You didn't lie awake in Scotland, in a country of 5 million people that's, thinking you would be the first person ever to make it to the WWE, sacrificing everything, finally pulling it off because everything was handed to you because you were the son of Cowboy Bob Orton. And, because I never rode in the limo with Evolution. I never had one cleaning up all my messes after me like Evolution did for you. When I made my mistakes, I was fired. You should have been fired 6 or 7 times, and you never were. And Orton's big thing was how the reason I was never fired because I was way more valuable than you ever were, including now. And that's why they didn't fire me. And it's, because he goes like, you say I should have been fired. You're right. I should have been fired over and over and over again, but I wasn't. And you were, because I'm more valuable than you ever were and ever will be. And I've been given chance after chance because I'm, whatever. I'm the real chosen one then, now, and forever.
So Flair shows up in this Kevin Owens segment and basically tries to tell him, you need to start worrying about yourself, not all these other people. Kevin says, well, and I want to be a locker room leader. I want to be what Randy could be if he wanted to be. That's what I want to be. And Flair says, listen, I'm in Orton's corner. Instead of giving you advice you might want to listen to, I'll advise you that you need to listen. Mind your own business. Take care of Kevin Owens. Maybe you'll get a title match at SummerSlam. Kevin says, if you're so worried about where my career is going, tell your boy Randy, meet me in the ring next week, and I'll see you there too. So it's Randy Orton and Kevin Owens next week. Then we have this Nia Jax segment, which, dude, get me the quarter hour for this segment, because this was a massive turnoff. She comes out with Pat Buck. Last week, she beat up Pat Buck. Comes out here, every WWE promo you've ever seen. She pretends like she's going to apologize, but then she doesn't want to apologize. Cuts a promo on him. She wants a match with him. He doesn't want a match. Give me the match. No, I'm not doing the match. Finally, he goes, you're suspended without pay. And she gets really mad, and she beats him up. And after she beats him up, which, by the way, he did a better job selling than almost anybody on the roster, Truth runs out. He's got the 24/7 title. Geeks are chasing him. I wrote in all caps, this show sucks. So I need to know how it did in this quarter. And then, after all that talking, we're rewarded with another match. Truth, Shelton, and Tozawa in a three-way for the 24/7 title. Shelton kills Tozawa with a powerbomb. Truth tries something when he runs into pay dirt. A ninja, who I am 99% sure was Ricochet, hits the ring, does a big flip. Shelton kills him. The Hurt Business beats up the ninjas. Tozawa hits a senton, gets the pin, and wins the title. 2-minute match after 4 long talking segments. Then we just go to Shane, who says, Raw Underground's at 10 p.m. Sarah's with Dominic. Dominic, in fact, challenges Seth Rollins to a match at SummerSlam. So there you go. Dominic's debut. SummerSlam, Seth Rollins.
Yep. Yep, that's what they did.
Shayna versus Sasha. This
wasn't good.
Dude, this was... They're having this match. It goes, I don't know, 3 minutes or whatever. Asuka runs down, attacks Bayley, and they ring the bell. Neither of them were involved in the match.
Yep.
We have people running down and attacking people at ringside on every show. Well, this week it was a DQ.
Well, because they didn't, they put a match in the ring, and they had no finish, so that was the finish. Because they didn't want to beat Sasha, because she's the champ, but they didn't want to beat Shayna, because Shayna's going to be theoretically challenging for the title in September. Maybe, who the fuck knows? But right now, so therefore, they couldn't beat anyone, so they just, how do we get out of it? So the problem with this match is that, like, Shayna has to do a certain match. That's her match. You know, it's got to be shoot-oriented, because when she doesn't, it's just not what she's trained at. And Sasha Banks does a completely different style of match. So you can blend the two, but they didn't. They did a complete Sasha Banks match, and, you know, I don't know how, you know, I could see Vince, I could see Vince freaking out. This was not good at all. It was, you know, aside from the bad finish, there was like a couple of spots that were good, but there was a lot of stuff where it was just, they were not in sync whatsoever.
So then we go backstage, and Charlie asks Asuka about Kairi. And Asuka's response is, she'll be fine.
She'll be fine. She's okay. She's just not here anymore. So much for the career-ending injury.
I was going to say, what happened to the career-ending injury? She came out of that locker room crying last week.
Well, when Kyrie went and tweeted about how wonderful everything was, it kind of makes it like you can't do it anymore.
Yeah, you can. You can ignore the stupid social media and just do your show.
Well, they didn't do it in this case, and I think that the mentality was that it's because of the rep that's going on, of the idea that people are unhappy there. It's more important to tell people on social media that Kyrie, who everybody loves, was really happy. She's leaving, you know, which they don't say why, but, you know, she's leaving to be with her husband, but, you know, which is fine and well and good. But the idea is that it was more important for them to put over that Kyrie is happy. She didn't leave because she was mad. She loves everyone here. She loves WWE. Then shoot the angle, you know, that was originally on the books. So, you know, whatever. I that's just a determination that they had to make. And, the career-ending injury stuff, I don't know that flies today anyway, because,
when you injure really somebody and they leave the company and they don't come back, I mean, that was a career-ending injury. So you can do that.
Well, they decided against doing it.
Yeah, now the storyline is she got beat up, and Asuka says she's fine, and then we never see her again.
Well, when Asuka said she was fine, I was like, what the hell? I mean, I thought the least they could do is say that she's going to be out for a little while and she was hurt. But I guess because of the social media, they couldn't say that. So there you go.
So Shayna comes up and says, I don't want to fight. I'm cheering for you, Asuka, at SummerSlam. I hope you win the title because I want to take it from you. And then Sasha comes back out and says, I will give Asuka the rematch at SummerSlam if you can beat a former NXT Women's Champion, member of the Four Horsewomen, my best friend Bayley. And, of course, Bayley doesn't like this idea at all. But that match is next week.
Yeah. Well, I mean, probably be a good match.
We have Angel backstage with Demi Burnett, who was on The Bachelorette. Andrade walks up. Angel introduces her. Zelina walks up, says, Demi, you don't belong here. Angel says, she's a friend of mine. Zelina says, you and I got to talk. Drags him away. Then we have this stupid Raw Underground. Shane is in a warehouse. There's no ring posts. There's no ropes. A bunch of girls are dancing. People are surrounding the ring, pounding on the apron. No ropes. Shane says, this is Raw Underground. There are few rules and a lot of chaos. Dabba-Kato, get in here. Big dude gets in the ring. Some other guy that Shane doesn't even announce. Dabba-Kato wins. The way the match ends is Shane goes, that's enough! And then they just end it. Another guy gets in. Kato kills him. Shane calls it off. And that's the whole segment. We waited around for that. It sucked.
So that's Babatunde Ayagbusi, who's been in the system for years and years and years. Very athletic, giant guy who, they've always groomed him for the main roster. And I guess this is, they're going to bring him in as a pit fighter guy, underground fighter guy. So we got a couple new giants. They also had the Jordan, who was the giant ninja, is now Shane McMahon's giant bodyguard or whatever. Not necessarily bodyguard. He's the guy who stands in front of Shane McMahon's door so nobody can get in. So we got, like I said, we're going back in time. When Vince panics, we see giants. So, that's
great.
And we see Shane McMahon and giants. That's what we get.
We see fake fighting on a show filled with fake fighting.
Yeah, it's different form. It's different.
Dude, when there were rumors of Brawl for All today, I was like, fuck, there's no way they can do Brawl for All. Then I heard it was fake Brawl for All, and I was like, I'm not sure that's better or worse. Because this fake fighting is really shitty.
Yeah, but real fighting on WWE right now would have been the worst idea in the world. This was not as bad an idea as real fighting. Real fighting with people getting hurt left and right. Plus, they're going to end up if they do real, like they got away with it like 20 years ago because it was a different world. If they're going to do real fights now, the commissions are going to jump all over them.
What commissions? They're just in Florida. Florida lets them do whatever they want.
Even in Florida, you're not going to be able to get away with doing real fights without legislation. Even in Florida, you're not going to be able to. And plus, it's even if you could, they already learned their lesson. You're going to pay up for all these guys' injuries. Everyone's going to get hurt. It's like it doesn't. I mean, guys who aren't trained to fighting is just bad news across the board. The fights aren't entertaining because you can see how bad the guys are skill wise, and a lot of guys who are supposed to be tough guys don't end up looking tough because we know how real tough guys fight, and watching guys who are supposed to be fighters that can't fight, that does nobody any good. And, so it's a million times better as a work, but I don't know, man. It was an idea, I mean, I don't know.
It was a stupid idea.
It didn't. So what?
These fake fights are real, but the other matches are all fake. Is that what we're supposed to believe here? Because later, Eric of the Viking Raiders does everything he does in a pro wrestling ring, but without ropes, and they're selling it like that one's a shoot. He knocks this guy out with a knee. So what? The stuff they do in the ring is fake?
Who the fuck knows? This is. I mean, I've actually seen this. This is what Inoki did, and nearly killed New Japan Pro Wrestling by doing it too. And if you would have thought something like this would actually fit better in Japanese wrestling than American wrestling, which tells you how well it fit in American wrestling.
We have the Street Profits out. Dawkins tries to hit on Demi. Montez makes fun of Andrade. Then they get serious and say, we're sick of playing nice because we want the smoke. So they have...
It's like, did that line come out so weird? Cause
it's ridiculous.
I mean, it's like where Montez takes off his sunglasses, he's cutting a good promo, and then he goes right back to his gimmick. It's like, wait a minute, didn't you drop your gimmick?
Nope. So we have Angel versus Dawkins. This whole segment was so fucking dumb. It's Angel versus Dawkins. They do one spot, they go to commercial, they come back, Dawkins is making this comeback, and all of a sudden Montez Ford collapses outside the ring. He just goes down, like he had a heart attack. And Dawkins runs over. Oh my God, are you all right? Are you all right? He turns around. Angel super kicks him, drop kicks him in the face, gets the pin. They go backstage. Demi is clapping. Nobody gives a shit about Montez. The announcers are just wondering, hey, what happened? No doctor, nothing. We just move on. They go to commercial. They come back, and Montez is now in the ring against Andrade.
Wrestling.
Yes, he's in a wrestling match.
Well, they said the doctors came and cleared him.
Bullshit. There was no doctor in sight. So this,
no, but they said that. They absolutely said that.
I know they said that, but we never saw a doctor.
Yeah, so went to a commercial.
The guy gets in the ring and he's stumbling around. He's acting like he's out of it. It's like,
and then he comes back and he's fine.
No, he doesn't. He makes a comeback. He does one flip dive and he fucking collapses again. And
no, he was fine for about a minute there. He went 6 minutes. No, whoa, no. That was a shorter one. He went 5 minutes, but he was fine for a while there. Like he comes in, he's selling at the beginning, then he's just doing a regular pro wrestling match. I'm going like, I thought this dude was like fainting, and now he's doing a regular pro wrestling match. It is the flip dive, and then he does the big Shawn Michaels, Owen Hart thing where he just like collapses, and it's like, oh God, they're doing Shawn Michaels, Owen Hart. And then the match is over.
So
Stop.
He goes down. Now the referee's like, oh, we need a doctor. We need a doctor. It's like, why didn't you call for the doctor 10 minutes ago, buddy? The guy's dead.
The doctor was there. They already explained the doctor was there.
Dude,
they already explained that aspect.
Dave, the doctor should have been out the moment he collapsed.
The idea that they let him wrestle, especially when they later said that he was food poisoning. So this guy collapses. And then they gave a whole freaking speech. This is what actually made it worse. They gave Tom Phillips was making this speech about how, everyone's got to be cleared and you got to go through the right medical and all this. And it's like, the dude collapsed and he's in a match 2 minutes later. It's like, what the hell?
So they're so concerned that this guy is, dead, that they just cut backstage, and it's now footage of Murphy watching a video of him pushing Alistair's eye into the corner of the steps. And Seth says, I'm proud of you. You should be proud of yourself. Murphy says, have you ever put any thought into Dominic's challenge? And Seth smiles and walks off. Still no update on Montez. We go to Eric of the Viking Raiders beating, quote, this tough kid. There's 85 camera cuts. He hits him with his wrestling moves, and he wins. They recap Montez fading. Finally, they go to Charlie, and she's outside the doctor-trainer room. And who should show up with a rose but Angel? What happened? What happened?
To Demi?
Yes.
I have no idea. I have no idea what happened.
This was
to Demi.
so out of WCW. The whole show is about him and Demi. I'll be there right after the match. And all of a sudden she's just gone. We never see her again. And now he's giving a rose to
maybe Sonya Deville attacked her.
Well, Charlie's back there, and anyway, Zelina shows up, wants to know what this means for the Raw tag titles at SummerSlam. Dawkins comes out of the room, and he says, "I'm afraid Ric Flair has been poisoned." Oh, sorry, this isn't WCW. Actually, it is WCW, but they did the poisoning angle, the same stupid angle they did with Ric Flair and WCW, and they were dying. Claim that Montez has been poisoned. It's like, dude, he's been poisoned. And then Bianca comes out, and she's so mad that she wants to fight Zelina because she thinks that they poisoned her husband. I was like, this show is dying.
The people who you're going to be wrestling at the next pay-per-view generally are the people that poison you. That's like wrestling logic. So she was, as a detective, it's like either a newcomer that we don't know about, or the people you're wrestling on the next pay-per-view. And since there's no newcomers, so she's got to figure that one of those three people poisoned her husband. And since she's a woman, she's got to fight another woman. So ergo, it's got to be Zelina. And also she explained why, because Zelina's the brains of the outfit. So she's the only one who could come up with the idea of poisoning, because she's the only one who probably watched WCW go out of business or something 23 years ago when she was 5 years old or whatever it is.
So we just get the news that Montez Ford has been fucking poisoned. And we go back to the announcers and they say, well, I got some footage from earlier in the day we think you guys should all see. It's footage from outside. Some dudes in masks are throwing Molotov cocktails at something that lights on fire. I'm like, wow, there was arson this afternoon. Who gives a shit? What does that have to do with anything? But that's their big angle.
That's the explanation for all of the lights going out and the mic going out all night long.
So we got new hackers. There's
Mustafa Ali.
There's a giant electrical panel outside that they blew up earlier in the day that now randomly causes shit to go on and off hours later. That's the story?
Yep.
Yeah, the story sucks.
It's not a good story.
So then Charlie's meeting with MVP, Shelton, and Lashley, and she goes, man, you guys have had a shitty night here. MVP, you lost, and Shelton, you lost, and man, it's a good thing, Bobby, you didn't wrestle tonight. And MVP is appalled. Aren't you supposed to be a journalist, he says? Then he hears about Raw Underground, and he's aghast, and they decide they're going to go check it out. Seth and Murphy come out. This is where I wondered, what in the hell is the main event of this show that I'm waiting for here? Well, the answer was there isn't one. Seth goes on and on about Tom Phillips. Tom Phillips is Seth Rollins, Dave Meltzer, or whoever that's bitching about whatever. So he's got to do the big, aren't you a journalist? Aren't you supposed to be unbiased? Blah, blah, blah. You were cheering last week when I got beat up. I'm going to beat your ass. Samoa Joe stands up. This was the only other great thing on the show. Joe standing up to Seth Rollins and Murphy. He threatens to beat their asses. And Seth gets in the ring and he says, let's do this. They go to commercial and they come back. And they've got chairs. Joe's on the outside of the ring. Who should fly in but Dominic? Dominic runs wild. He clears the ring. He hits the big 619 on Seth. He hits a high cross off the post to the floor on both guys. They all go running. Dominic was great in this segment, and so was Samoa Joe.
Samoa Joe was really good. Yeah, I mean, Dominic, every segment that he's been put in, he's come off really well for a guy with, like, no pro matches and everything. Now he's going to have a pro match. At least he's with Seth. I mean, I'm sure it'll be, like, very carefully crafted.
He's probably praying they're not going to be in New Jersey with 2,000 fans, because it'd be a lot better if they did this at the Performance Center in front of students.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, but we'll see. I mean, we'll see. Seth might do really good, and Dominic's got potential. So
the thing about Dominic is he did this promo earlier when he challenged Seth, and he sounds a lot like his dad. Soft-spoken.
Yeah, promo is his dad, though.
He's not, but he's soft-spoken. He's got like a calm voice, and he really comes off as a guy that you really want to get behind. You want to cheer for this guy. And he moves great.
So Seth's going to beat him for sure.
I'm sure Seth.
Well, actually, maybe not. Ray may come out and cost Seth the match. I could definitely see that one happening.
But my point is he's got a lot of fire. He moves well. Like, he did the 619 great, even though I don't know how tall he really is. He looks like he's 10 feet tall next to his dad. I mean, maybe he's only like 5'9". I don't even know, but he looks tall.
No. He's I think he's 6'1", 6'2".
Wow. Well, he was very, very athletic here, so hopefully they can do something with this guy. And they don't just throw him in the deep end like David Flair. Another WCW
reminder.
He's
way better than David Flair. I mean, he just is. He's way better than David Flair. David Flair, they rushed out there with no training. Dominic's been training for a while. And again, also he's debuting with Seth Rollins. I mean, Seth Rollins is really freaking good. I mean, I don't expect it to be a bad match. I don't know that it'll be a great match, but I think it'll be fine. I mean, I bet they don't have the worst match on the show.
I would bet you good money they do not have the worst match on the show.
Yeah, but it's certainly where the pressure's on Dominic, though. I mean, debuting at SummerSlam in like, a match that shouldn't be a 2-minute match because Seth's in it. I hope that they don't try to do it like a super long match. They probably won't. With the idea that sometimes, sometimes they get overconfident with certain matches and they don't let, but I think in this one they won't get overconfident. I think they'll go in there with, whatever is right, rather than go too long and get overconfident with it.
And finally, the main event of the show is another Raw Underground. Dolph is wrestling this dude and he chokes him out. MVP, Lashley, and Shelton show up. MVP says, Raw Underground is under new management. We're not controlling Raw Underground. Since I hear you guys like to fight, we're here to fight. We're now controlling it. And he says, who wants to face Lashley?
So if they were controlling it, they're taking over for Shane, but Shane was having no trouble there. So it wasn't like they were feuding with Shane. So they didn't really
Shane's like, guys, hey, show up next week. Like, yeah. Whatever. So MVP kills a dude, Lashley kills a dude, Shelton kills a dude, and then they start going to beat up fans, at which point we're told they'll be back next week for more. I was like, I can't wait for that. This show was so bad. This had to be the worst Raw of the year. It was just atrocious. Atrocious.
I don't know if it's the worst Raw of the year, but it had a lot of bad.
Dude, name a worse Raw.
Well, we'll see. I mean, it depends on where they're going next. I'm sure they have no idea where they're going. Well, they had
no idea where they were going for this show. How would they have any idea where they're going next?
Well, they did already tape next week's show, so they know where they were going for the next show. But any further than that, dude, when it's Monday morning and they've got 2 shows, and then you hear that they've got 2 confirmed segments for 2 shows in the middle of the afternoon, man, it's bad news.
Dude, I'd heard that before the show, but just watching the show, it was like, this is a show they're just making up as they go along. Send this person out to talk.
That's just like Nitro used to be.
Send this person out to talk. Send this person out to talk. Let's do a quick nothing happening match. Now send this person out to talk. A bunch of shit happens. Just a bunch of stuff happens. Yeah, I hated
Well,
the
how
show.
do you like that Shayna Sasha Banks? How much time do you think they put into that finish? It's like, we got a match with these 2. What do we do? Well, we'll just run Asuka out.
Yeah, run Asuka out. It's just so dumb. She didn't even attack anyone in the match, and they rang the bell. It's like
they had no other way to get out of it. I'm telling you.
Well, I mean, there are a million ways to get out of it, like, attack a participant, get in the ring and fight. I mean, there are things you can do, but they did the laziest thing possible. Something that happens like twice on every show, but this time for some reason that was the end of the match.
They had people run into the ring and not get disqualified because they didn't hit the person first. And this one, no one got hit or in the ring, and they ended the match. It's like, but, again, they're making it up as they went along.
Well, everybody, on that cheery note, we are done for the day. We'll be back on Wednesday to talk about AEW and NXT. A lot of news up on the front page. A back issue of The Observer's coming up. New issue is out, so check it out. And that's it, everybody. We'll talk to you again after a while.